Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jeremy with Fime Group LLC, and today we're talking about the Fime Fire Control Group. The Fime Fire Control Group incorporates multiple features that increase the functionality and even the longevity of your milled or stamped receiver Kalashnikov pattern rifle. Built from mil-spec drawings and materials, ensuring superb fit and function in your AK, RPK, 308 or 12 gauge gun. Three tools you will need to make this conversion are a screwdriver, a pair of scissors, and some small zip strips. The first step in making this conversion is to ensure the rifle is unloaded. Remove your source of ammunition and visually and physically inspect the chamber to ensure the rifle is clear. The first step after you've ensured that the rifle is clear is to remove the top cover. You'll remove the top cover by pressing in on the button on the rear of the receiver and lifting upwards on the cover. It will come clear of the receiver. Your recoil spring can be removed by pressing forward, lifting upwards, and pulling it clear from the rifle. After that, you will remove your bolt carrier group. Simply pull the bolt carrier group directly to the rear, lifting upwards and pulling it clear of the rifle. Remove the tension off of the hammer by placing your thumb over the hammer and depressing the trigger, easing the hammer gently to the forward position. After removing your top cover, recoil spring, and bolt carrier group, you will remove your safety. To remove your safety, simply grasp the safety selector, lift it all the way to the vertical position, and remove it through the keyhole slot on the right side of the receiver. In order to remove the hammer, we must first tether the spring. Lifting each wing of the spring using a punch or a screwdriver, bring them all the way to the vertical position and loop them over the hammer. Quick tip, use a zip strip to tether the spring in position, ensuring no damage is done to the rifle or yourself. Using a screwdriver or punch, press downward on the retaining spring and press the hammer pivot pin out of place. After pressing the hammer pivot pin out of place, remove it from the left side of the receiver, then turn the hammer and remove it from the receiver. Place the hammer pin back into the hammer to ensure it does not get misplaced. Now you will remove your trigger pivot pin retaining spring by placing your punch on the end of the spring and pressing rearwards. Using a punch, press the trigger pivot pin through the left side of the receiver. After it is free, remove the trigger assembly from the receiver. After installing the hammer spring on the Fime Fire Control Group hammer, simply bend the spring back over the tabs and re-tether with the zip strip. Now we will install the Fime Fire Control Group by dropping the trigger assembly into place and reinstalling the trigger pivot pin. When reinstalling the trigger pivot pin retaining spring, simply place the spring flush against the receiver and push it forward into place. If needed, use a punch or flathead screwdriver to press it all the way into place. When reinstalling the hammer, depress the hammer pin retaining spring and slide the hammer pin into place. Then install the hammer by placing it in the receiver and rotating it onto the hammer pin. After getting the hammer and hammer pin into place, depress the retaining spring and push the hammer pin all the way into position. After you have your hammer in place, carefully remove your tether and install the spring to its original position, ensuring the spring is hooked on the rear of the trigger group. Once you've finished installing the Fime Fire Control Group, reinstall your safety through the keyhole slot on the right side of the receiver and return it to the horizontal position. Now that you've finished installing the Fime Fire Control Group, you will now reassemble the rifle and conduct a function check. Start by reinstalling your bolt carrier group, reinstalling your recoil spring, and reinstalling your dust cover. Once you've reassembled the rifle, we will now perform a function test. Remove your safety and cycle the action. Then, depress the trigger. With the trigger depressed, recycle the action and ease off the trigger to ensure reset. Once the trigger is reset, you will reapply your safety and ensure the safety functions properly. A few quality features of the Fime Fire Control Group are the inability to discharge the mechanism by placing pressure on the rear of the disconnector, and the precise machining between the disconnector and the hammer itself. This all coupled with a 0.3 inch 5-pound take-up, 6-pound brake, and 0.15 inch reset make this the safest and highest quality fire control group available for any price.